Hi everyone. This video is to give you some tips and pointers on the reflection paper that you're about to write. So you can see the assignment instructions on Brightspace. Basically, this paper calls for you to choose a challenging experience that you've encountered since you started college and to write a single paragraph paper about it. I wanted to make some suggestions about different kinds of challenges you might consider writing on. Maybe you want to write about struggling to understand part of a class. Maybe it's a certain concept or how to do a particular type of math problem or complete a, a science lab assignment, something like that. Maybe you've had a difficult time putting into practice one of the study strategies that we've talked about, like reading a college level textbook or taking notes or managing your time. Maybe you've experienced something disappointing like an unwanted grade, or maybe you made some kind of mistake. You missed a deadline or accidentally missed an exam. Or maybe something outside of classes has impacted your experience in the work that you've done in class. That can include anything from financial difficulties or a family problem, or it could also have to do with something related to the coronavirus pandemic. These are some of the different types of struggles that you might choose to write about for this paper. So it doesn't matter what the challenge is. Once you get to writing your paper, these are the things that you want to keep in mind. You want to focus on one specific instance of a challenge, not just talk about challenge in general. You want to give plenty of relevant details about the occurrence of the challenge. And you want to talk a little bit about your thinking and your self-talk. So, for example, did any of your thoughts include things that connected with a fixed mindset? Did you question anything about yourself or maybe your decision to come to college? Did you wonder whether you belong in college? Or did you start having any fears about whether you're going to be able to do well and reach your college goals? So these are the different things that you want to be sure that you accomplish in this single paragraph essay. I wanted to show you some sample papers to give you actual examples of what I'm talking about. So on the left is going to be sample 1, and on the right is going to be sample 2. And these are both papers that I've received from actual students in previous semesters. So let's look at sample 1. At the beginning of college, I was anxious and scatterbrained. I still am. I have so far been unable to properly balance work, life, and college. Because of this inability to meet the requirements of both myself and my classes, there were several times that I felt like I was out of place, like I was not supposed to be here. I suppose it is a natural feeling to get. It made me question whether I could truly make it through or not. I almost began to question if I was even close to as smart as I believed myself to be. There is no question that I began to doubt my abilities at the start of all this. So when we look at this paper, it's very clear that the student has looked at the assignment instructions and is making an attempt to fulfill the different parts of the assignment. But I just want to point out some areas where this paper needs some improvement. First of all, when you read this section that's being underlined, hopefully what you can tell is that this paper really isn't focused on a specific instance of difficulty. Instead, it just makes a general statement about the student struggling with a few different things. So that's one problem. Another area that needs improvement is that the paper needs more detail. Those who, what, where, when, why, how questions that I talked about in the pre-writing instructions really aren't dealt with in this paper. So it kind of leaves something to be desired in that area. There are also some grammar errors. The first one that I want you to notice is a fragment sentence. It's right there in that line that's underlined. And then there is a punctuation error in that last section that was underlined. So while this paper has made a start on the assignment, it really is still a work in progress and could use some improvements. Now let's look at sample 2. I quickly became overwhelmed with the several different deadlines. Because I lacked proper time management skills, I would tend to focus on one assignment and neglect others. This was reflected on my first paper in my Comp 1 class. In high school, my teachers had always told me that I was a quality writer, so when the time for me to write my first college paper arrived, I figured it would be a breeze. While I was working on other assignments, I had waited until the last minute to write my paper. Although I wished I had spent more time on the paper, I turned it in assuming I would still get a good grade. However, when the teacher handed back my graded paper in class, I eagerly turned over the paper and was shocked to see a C. I sat there staring at it, not knowing what to do. Sitting there reading the teacher's comments that picked apart my paper, I wanted to get up and leave. My eyes began watering as I wondered how I would get through the semester. It was the very first paper. How did I get a C already? Let's talk about some areas where this student is doing well on the paper. The first thing I want you to notice is that this student is focusing in on a very specific problem and not just a problem in the Comp 1 class that is being written about, but on the first paper assignment. So you get a specific instance of struggle. And then what this paragraph also provides is a set of really vivid details. The writer tells a story, kind of describes a particular day in class where the paper was returned. So you kind of get this story about the day and about what happened while the student was preparing the assignment, and then you get lots of other details that follow. And there you kind of get into an idea of what the student was thinking, what the student was feeling, and even some information about body language. So those are some of the details that are covered in this paper. And so as you can see, this paper is just stronger and more thoroughly prepared, more carefully written than the first sample that we looked at. Few mistakes that often occur on these papers, as I mentioned, choosing a struggle that's too general instead of focusing in on something specific, providing just minimal detail. Another problem that I see sometimes is a student might talk about a particular struggle, but then at the end of the paragraph starts talking about how he or she fixed or addressed the struggle. Don't talk about how you address the struggle. Just talk about your initial reaction or response to it. Another error is when students turn in papers that have grammar mistakes or poor formatting. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you only submit a Microsoft Word document and not a PDF or anything like that. So you just want to avoid those common mistakes when you are putting together your reflection paper. In terms of how it's going to be evaluated, the rubric will look very similar to what you've seen already. You can earn up to 10 points for the quality of your content, 10 points for the quality of your thought, and 10 points for the quality of your writing. Content has to do with including all of the required information that's listed on the assignment. The quality of thought has to do with the amount of detail that you give and whether or not you remain focused throughout the paragraph, and if you follow all of the other assignment instructions about formatting. In other words, were you just thoughtful as you put this assignment together? And then, of course, the quality of writing has to do with whether or not you use correct college level writing throughout your paper. This assignment is worth a daily and weekly assignment grade. So in college, it's what we call a low stakes assignment. You have a lot of other daily and weekly assignment grades that you've earned. So this particular assignment isn't going to make or break your overall grade in the course, obviously. But I wanted to point something out to you about this assignment. So as we look ahead to the end of the semester, one of the major projects that you're going to turn in is the Hero's Quest narrative. And that Hero's Quest narrative is a 4-paragraph essay. The first paragraph is going to focus on your origins and background and your personal call to adventure. The second paragraph is going to focus on a test that you encountered. The third paragraph is going to focus on mentors, allies, and strategies. And then the fourth paragraph will talk about transformation and wisdom. And I just want to point something out to you, maybe a little secret, and that's this. The paragraph that you're writing for this reflection paper is one of the 4 paragraphs that you're going to write for your Hero's Quest narrative. So basically, what you're doing is getting a chance to do a partial draft of your Hero's Quest narrative and get feedback on that draft as a very low stakes assignment. And then you're going to get feedback that in turn you can apply to your Hero's Quest narrative as a whole. And of course, that is what we might call a higher stakes assignment because it counts as a larger percentage of your overall grade. So maybe that'll give you a little bit of extra motivation as you work on this assignment to go ahead and turn in your very best work so that you can get feedback and then set yourself up to do even better on your Hero's Quest narrative. So good luck as you prepare this reflection paper, and I sure do look forward to reading what you have to say.